Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon. When the person that I just want to welcome you all to my presentation, and I hope you guys are enjoying the Promising Pathways conference. If you don't know who I am, or or you have not heard about me before, allow me to do a brief introduction. My name is Tony Hernandez Pumarejo, and I'm an autistic self advocate. But more important, I'm an advocate for the entire autism community. I, was born and originally raised in Puerto Rico, and I live in Orlando, Florida. And I do different types of work for the community and much more. So it is my honor and my privilege to be with all of you today during the Promising Pathways Conference. Today's presentation is going to be called Autism Purpose. And the purpose of this presentation is I'm going to talk about, summarize a little bit about my life as an autistic self-advocate, my life with autism from childhood all the way to adulthood. I'm going to talk about the challenges that I went through, the struggles that I went through in overcoming those challenges, and more important, how I was able to overcome those challenges to achieve key life goals. Also, I'm going to talk about a little bit about my hobbies, things that I like to do. And last but not least, the objective of this presentation is that, that today you learn something that can help you, whether you're a parent that have a loved one with autism, or you're an autistic self-advocate, or a therapist, or a teacher, whatever role you have in the autism community, there's something that can help you towards working for the community, and we can work together towards achieving a common goal, which is a better quality of life for everybody in the autism spectrum. So let us begin with the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a moment here. Just bear with me here for a moment. All right, autism purpose. All right, so let us begin. So as you can see pictures of me from child to adult to graduating from college, which I'm going to talk about during this presentation. And again, the presentation we're going to focus on on different points. So let us begin. Let's go with the beginning. For you all of you to learn a little bit about who I am. As I mentioned, I was born in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. March 3, 1990. I'm 31 years old. I recently celebrated my birthday back in March 3. So, just about over a month ago. And as a person, I went to different challenges in life, starting with being diagnosed with autism until age 3. But I didn't learn anything about autism or the word autism until later in life, which I'm going to talk about during the presentation. I was completely nonverbal. And as a person, going back, as a person in the autism spectrum, I went through different challenges that are common, but are also uncommon for a person in the autism spectrum. For example, I was completely nonverbal until age 4. And as a result of that, I went through different types of therapies, such as, behavior, occupational therapies, and specifically verbal therapies. And the verbal therapy helped me to improve my verbal skills up to a point in which I was able to communicate more normally with other people. And this is an area that, as you can see from me talking, I was able to improve. But from time to time, when I'm dealing with high anxiety specifically, or I'm in a high pressure situation, my verbal skills tend to decrease in those situations. So the verbal situation, even though right now I'm talking to you like normal, it hasn't gone away, but it's something that I'm dealing with from time to time on every day. And in addition to that, I have dealt with challenges like social communication struggles, relationship building, be able to understand other people, to connect with other people. And I have a big struggle of this when I was in school. For example, I was trying to understand and learn and understand what other kids were doing, whether they're playing, in school, in the playground, or things that were telling me or talking to me, even jokes. A lot of times I didn't understand jokes, and that created a lot of situations which I'm gonna touch right now, which are related to bullying. But that created a lot of situations, and which I'm gonna talk about during the whole presentation. And as a result of this, it led to different types of situations in my life, dealing with depression and social anxiety. As a person in the spectrum, when I was a child, I went to different types, different situations in my life, not only in school, but my whole life. For example, family wise, my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. And that was a very tough situation to deal with. My siblings' relationship was not as close as I would have liked to be, um, you know, during those years, and it got more distant as years passed by. We moved, I was living with my mom. We were living with my mom for the first 10 years of my life, and then unfortunately, my mom had to move. Excuse me, because of an illness, and uh, and then we had to move with my dad, and there was a lot of changes, and that was an area that I was struggling with as a kid, with autism, dealing with those types of situation changes and struggling to adapt to those changes, which led to a very tough situation in addition to what I was dealing with in my other areas of life, which I'm going to talk about right now, specifically in school. Because of the situations that I was going through, uh, it's always been my goal to be able to meet and understand other people. But I was having a difficulty in doing that. And I was wondering why. I struggled in talking with them, in communicating with them. A lot of times I didn't understand what they were doing or saying. And this created a lot of situations which ended in different unfortunate situations. For example, it led to bullying, severe bullying in school, being attacked because of the way I talked, struggles with verbal communication because I didn't follow their jokes or anything. Receive attacks from different bullies throughout my school life, which, some of the situations were, I can say were almost ended, were a very serious concern for my life, basically, because it was very, very very, very tough to deal with these types of bullying. For example, I dealt with different types of bullying. In high school, I dealt with, for example, cyberbullying. They created, for example, fake profiles of myself, saying that I was this and that, which was absolutely false. Because, for example, they said I was homosexual because I was not getting close to girls or doing things inappropriate, doing in school, and because of that, I was attacked at being homosexual. They said that I wanted to hit people, and those things really hurt me. They really hurt me really bad, because those things are not me. And but those are the things. Just a sample. That's just a sample of the things that I was dealing with throughout my school life, and also dealing with rejection and struggles, and not only creating friendships but also keeping friendships, because from different, during my time, I was able to create some friendships during my school, but they didn't last that long. And I was struggling keeping friendships. There were different reasons, of course, because, I had to move around different schools. But other times I was wondering why, for example, they decided to ignore me all of a sudden, or go or leave, or leave, or get away from me during school recess and other things. And a lot of times I thought, I had people in my life that I thought they were going to be for me in life, and they left me out of nowhere and began to insult me and become bullies themselves. Those were the types of situations that were ongoing every day. I didn't have that person that I can count on, that I can truly count on, that can really understand me and I can understand them. And that was the situation that I was dealing with. And because of the situations that I was dealing in school, not to mention dealing with some teachers that were not very nice with me, that were not understanding about my situation, it led to different situations of depression and high anxiety, clinical depression. And it got to a point in which, I had to use my hobbies to as an escape of the terrible world that I was living in, and which I'm going to talk about a little bit about my topics later on, my hobbies later on. But those hobbies were not just hobbies. There was an escape for me from the terrible, the bad things that were happening to me. I went to different hobbies like Star Wars and video games and wrestling and arts and drawings and many other things to be in my own world, which is a challenge that can be related to other people in the autism spectrum to connect within our world because of the social rejection that we were dealing with. It was a very tough situation in school, and it was different types of attacks every day, which hurt me not only mentally, emotionally, but also physically. I was even hit, and attacked in school. And not to mention the fact that I was dealing with all these different types of situations during childhood, and as I became a teenager and getting and becoming an adult, it was very frustrating because I felt like alone in this world. I felt that no matter how hard I worked, no matter how hard I tried to do things to make it happen, everything was going against me. And but despite that, despite those situations, and despite what I was going through, um, I knew that I cannot give up no matter what I did. That there was something within me that kept, I didn't know it back then when I was growing up, but there was something within me that kept pushing me to not give up, to keep fighting. That at the end, there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So I kept pushing hard and fighting, especially in school in the academic area. Fortunately, I was able to do very well with all my classes, with a few exceptions. And I believe, I owe that to that credit and that support to the specific teachers that were very helpful for me during my school years. For example, I can mention my history teacher from seventh grade, eighth grade, Miss Inez Sanchez. I can also mention my Spanish teacher from the seventh grade and eighth grade and ninth grade, Iris Negron. Also, my 11th grade and 12th grade history teacher, Nelly Lopez. Those are some of the teachers, and there's many others, but those are the ones that I remember the most that truly helped me not only academically, but also that helped me to do very well in school and to cope with the tough situation that I was dealing with. Not to mention some of the counselors that were really helpful. If it weren't for the support during during those school years, then I wouldn't. I don't know if even would have survived school or even life. To be honest with you all, so I truly owe me able to graduate from high school to them because and also the support of of different people that really helped me to do very well in school. As you can mention, you can see the picture from there. I graduated high school with high honors. I was part of the high honors club with a 3.9 GPA. But even though I graduated high school, it was not a well. There was it's an experience that I don't remember, that I don't want to remember because it was very tough. It was a lot of situations in my family. My dad got remarried. I had to move with him to meet with a new families. Again, different changes. My siblings had to move abroad to study. My mom was living in the States with my now younger brother. I had, losing support from different people that I thought that were family and friends. It was a very tough situation. And and I was dealing with all of these storms at the same time. And I was not able to I was not able to enjoy graduation from high school, not even the prom. So it was a very depressive and very tough situation for me at that time. And I went through situations that I don't even wish on my worst enemy. So that's something to to remember. So that chapter of my life was done. I graduated high school, and now let's go to the next chapter of my life, which is college. And as before I started college, um, one of the challenges that I was having was that, what I was going to do in college, what I was going to study as a major. And before that, I was getting opinions from different people, different sources telling me, oh, you need to study this, study that, study history because you like it, or no, study engineering or medical, or a medical degree because it gives you the better financial opportunity, financial future, etc. And it put me a lot of stress and confusion and fear because I don't know what I was going to do, and I was trying to do everything to survive. And again, my situation back then was not ideal, and but right now I knew that I cannot give up. I was trying to find a way to not give up and to be able to fight on and get to college so I can graduate with my degree, so I can get into my career and get a financial opportunity, but not only a great financial opportunity, but also a better quality of life for myself and achieve, and more important, enjoy life, because I was struggling so bad, going through so many situations up to that point. So basically, um, to help me with this, my maternal aunt Neda, she, got me in contact with different professionals, which purpose, the purpose of this was for me to see what they did on their daily living, daily tasks, and and very important to see how can I see myself doing those types of professions in those industries. For example, as all of you can see in the picture, that's a me of a, you see me with an orange vest. That was taken during the time in which I was working like in a sort of an apprenticeship with a land surveyor or civil engineer. Uh, I was working with him. He was also a pastor, very nice person, and I was able to learn a lot about the profession. And what happened was I was trying to like it. I was trying to find something that I can like, and at the same time, it would bring me the best financial opportunity. But I was struggling in finding that area. So I was able to learn from this profession of land server, and the thing is that I was able to, back then I decided, you know what, I'm going to study this. And there was a lot of things going on in terms of, going to college, because wanted to go to college in the United States, but I stayed in Puerto Rico because I didn't got the score in the SAT that I wanted and that I needed to go to the United States, to the United States. So I had to stay in Puerto Rico, and there was a lot of situations at the moment. So I say, okay, let me start there, and go from there and go to college. And I did start college in the as a land server in, degree. And now I started college my first year. The good news was that I was relieved that I don't have to deal with the bullies and the tough situations that I had to deal with in school in that area. But still, the areas that was struggling the most in terms of connection and building friendships and keeping connections, that area still remained. And it got more difficult in college. And not only that, I was dealing with a lot of different situations of clinical depression, anxiety, and different situations in my life. And not only that, this took a toll on my academic performance, in which I was struggling in some of most of the classes. I used to get A's, now I'm getting C's, D's, and the most frustrating thing is I was getting these types of grades, and it was very frustrating for me because I didn't have a social life in college. In college, I was stuck at home trying to like study, and I was still struggling, and I was wondering why I was struggling, and it was very frustrating for me to go through all of this, which made my depression, brought my anxiety very high, even worse, into all these types of situations. So it was a very tough period, and I felt like alone. I felt alone in this world with a lot of things going on. And then later, after a year in college, a year in college, I decided to change majors to psychology. And the reason I changed a major to psychology was because since I wanted to learn more about autism, you know, I wanted to see, if I could study psychology to help me with my situation. But before that, let me go back a little bit back, because I didn't learn about the word autism until later in life, as I mentioned before. I learned about autism when I was 14 years old. And the way I learned about autism was when my dad took me to an activity in Puerto Rico. I remember that there were like different colors and different things, kids, families. And I asked him why we were there. And he told me, no, this is an activity for autism. I asked him, why is autism? And he told me that that's the condition that you're diagnosed with. So he informed me that that's the condition that I've been struggling with since I've been here, basically. And and when I found out about that, I was like, okay, so this is what I was having all along, not be able to talk well, struggles with other people, trying to understand the way they are. And now I know it's autism, specifically Asperger. As you know, later the diagnosis changed to Asperger syndrome. And right now, Asperger, right now here in the United States is ASD, or autism spectrum disorder, and I would think that would be a level 1 if I'm not mistaken. And that didn't help me with my situation, but at least I know what I had. So I became curious in terms of learning more about my autism, by the same time keeping hidden from others, because I fear more retribution and other things could happen to me. And so basically, going back to college, I selected psychology because of my situation. At the same year, I got into personal development. And the reason why I got to personal development is because of the situations I was going through in my life. And I got to personal development. I started to do goals for my life, trying to achieve a dream life, trying to overcome all the struggles, all the tough situations I was going through in school, and in order to achieve a better life. Excuse me. So, but no matter how much effort I was putting in to make things happen, working towards my goals, and achieving a better life, I was still struggling. I was not having the best support team, and to be honest with you, in my life. And again, dealing with a lot of things at the same time. And some things that I don't even wish on my worst enemy, as I mentioned. So basically, it got to a point in which, I was so depressed. There was so much anxiety, so much struggle, that it got to a point in which I said, you know what? I had to step back. I had to reassess everything, and I had to leave my current situation. And that's the moment I decided that I had to leave college for a time. I don't know if I was ever going to go back to college, but when I made the decision, I didn't have much of a support. I was being told by family and friends that I was not going to finish college, that I was going to be a failure, that I was doing a mistake. So I was not getting encouragement at all. But I knew within me that that was the decision that I had to make in order to see, again, reassess and see everything and think about what I needed to do in order to achieve a much better life and achieve my goals in life. So basically, I left college, and I also left Puerto Rico back in 2012, and I moved to Florida to move with my dad, with my mom, and my younger brother on a temporary basis. And basically my next phase of life began. So now here in Florida, I was right now out of college. Right now, my goal was to start again, start anew. And the first thing that I needed to do was to find a job. Because when I was trying to, when I was in Puerto Rico, it's not that I didn't want to work or anything. It's that I was struggling to find a job over there. And I didn't have much of a support. I was trying to find something part-time that can help me become more independent as much as I can. But still struggling over and over again. And basically my goal was to find a job, to be obviously to to be able to get going to the marketplace, and also start getting things back, in my life back on track, or not back on track, but to restart my life and getting closer to where I want to go, where I want to go. But I wanted to find a job that will be much of a fit for me as a person in the autism spectrum. And I remember when I read a list made by Dr. Temple Grandin, the most famous, autism person in the world, and obviously a mentor and a hero to me and to many. I read that, about the list of jobs that are recommended and not recommended for a person in the autism spectrum. And I went by that list trying to find a position, let's say administrative or even a bank teller, that will be more of a fit of a person, so that way the struggles and liabilities of my condition don't overtake me and don't and stop me in achieving my true potential and do my job. But the thing is but the problem was that they took some time, and I was not finding that position. And as because I was jobless and not be able to find a position, then the financial situation with my mom became more difficult. The circumstances became more difficult, and I had to choose, okay, but to find something, anything that can come up, because right now the economy back then was not doing very good. To find something that could be more of a benefit for me, something that can help me get a job quickly, so I can help with a financial situation, and then later find something, a better job for me as a person in the autism spectrum. So basically, I was able to find a job. I was able to find first get an interview for a job. And to be honest with you, I was dealing with anxiety. Um, I was struggling with myself to see how I was going to do in this interview. I didn't want to screw up because of my anxiety, depression, and struggles with communication, impact my interview in a negative way. So, but I went ahead, and my focus was on that interview to let the employer know of what I can contribute, what I are the things that I can use to contribute to the success of the company if they were to hire me. And that was my approach, doing that. And I continued doing that. And eventually I was able to do very well. I got a second interview. And then after that, I was able to get my first ever paid job. Be able to get, my first ever paid job in an area which which is an area that I struggle the most in my life. Not only me, but also a lot of people in the autism spectrum, which is the area of customer service and sales. And the ironic thing is that this is an area in which Dr. Grandin put it on the list of jobs that are not recommended for a person in the autism spectrum. And I was wondering, okay, I saw the list, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna let this, impact me negatively and stop me from doing my job and doing the best I can in this position. So basically, I started my job as a cashier in customer service. And for me, we're in retail environment, and I know some of you who are watching me in this presentation right now may wonder, maybe connected or will recognize some of the things I'm going to say about customer service, which you will see right now. And for example, for me, it felt like therapy, because I was dealing with a fast-paced multitasking environment. One of the things that I've struggled in my life was short-term working memory. I tend to lose, concentration, or I tend to forget things on the short term, especially if my anxiety is very high. And I was dealing with different types of people, customers, angry customers. There were nice customers too. Dealing with different types of personalities, not only with customers, but also with coworkers, supervisors. There were problems, and I was struggling in keeping pace with the fast-paced multitasking environment and a job that required 100% social communication. I was struggling very bad and feeling bad for myself because I was trying to work very hard and trying to work very hard and nothing was working. And I was feeling frustrated with myself. And because of that, I became more depressed. The situation in my mom's household became more difficult. In addition to the tough situation that I dealt with when I was dealing with my dad, um, you know, I felt, I felt like, that I was worth nothing. I was very depressed, sad, frustrated, angry at myself that was failing in my life. That and I was wondering if I can, even consider myself a bad person. And I was wondering, why I'm struggling, why, you know, blame, that no matter what I did, I keep failing over and over again. And I blame everybody in the past, situations in the past because I was failing over and over again. And if I felt very frustrated with myself. I even blame myself and I blame autism because of the struggles that I've gone through up to that point in my life. And I almost threw in the towel and quit that job so I can find something that will be much of a better fit for me as a person in the autism spectrum. But I was feeling very down within myself. But I had to realize something. I had to realize that I can no longer be continuing with this. I had to realize that I can no longer let autism determine what I can and cannot do in my life. I can no longer blame others, the past, for what I was going through. That was not helping me. I had to learn to to stand back, stand up again, and fight for what I believe to achieve a better life, achieve a happiness, which is what I always wanted in this life. And and to be honest with you, it got to a point in which almost ended all of this, ended this life, because I felt like a failure. I felt that perhaps the world would be better without me here, and that's the low self-esteem that I have within myself because I was being a burden to so many people, especially my mom, and I have been a liability. That was what I was feeling with, and but again, there was something within me that kept pushing and fighting to not leave this world, no matter what. So I stand up again, and I fought, and went back to work and be able to get better, be able to improve, and do the very best of my ability in order to survive in that job. And for me, that job was like therapy because I was able to improve my social communication skills and also be able to deal with people. So for me, I didn't saw it just a job. I see it today as a life experience, which helped me lead towards the other life experiences that had led me to where I am today. So basically, I was able to do well in that job. I stayed there for a year, surviving, fighting in the retail environment. Then I worked in the hospitality industry as a full-time position. But then something else was missing. Something else was missing from my life. And Because of that, because of that, I knew that I had to do something to go back, to do something that was incomplete that I had to go back to complete, which was to finish my college degree. I decided to went back to school and finish what I started and finish and get my bachelor's degree. I didn't went back to Puerto Rico to finish college, but I went to college this time at Seminole State College of Florida in the bachelor's degree program of business and information management. And this second time in college, it felt a little bit different for me. It felt like like this time I was in the right area because I was taking classes that I felt were going to help me get closer to what I wanted to do in my life. The struggles of social communication and trying to build friendships were there, but I felt like in terms of the classes, um, I felt that I was in the right area. Taking classes like entrepreneurship, writing a business plan, Microsoft Office, accounting, public speaking, sales, marketing, and many others. And and I thought I was taking classes that not only were going to help me with college, but more important, that were going to help me in life. And for example, uh, I mentioned my professor of accounting, Professor Terry Walsh, which not only she was an outstanding, she is an outstanding accounting professor at Seminole State College, uh, but also she was not only my professor but also my mentor. For example, she had a club of an accounting club at the college in which I was part of that. And in that accounting club, we went to different networking events. In which, in these networking events, we met different businesses and companies, in which we were able to meet with them, and also very important, in which helped me improve my social skills. Kind of ironic, because I was forced, to be in an environment in which I had to communicate with others. I had to learn how to, for example, shake other people's hands or be able to greet them and be able to talk and make communication with other people. And I felt like I was like weird, but at the same time, it felt like therapy, because it helped me improve my social skills. Being those networking environments, those business dinners, how to behave, how to dress, those things helped me not only from a college perspective or just to do well in college or get a job, but also life perspective. And I credit Professor Walsh to this very day, because without her, and not only her help as a professor, but also as a mentor, without her, I would not be here right now. I would not be definitely not be here. And to be able to, I credit her, and not only I credit her, but also I credit my sales and marketing professor, Professor Tom Walker, who helped me to do, improve my soft skills, especially in sales and in marketing. And taking those courses with him really really helped me improve my social communication skills. So I credit both of them and many other professors at Seminole State for helping me achieve those skills. So everything was going well in my classes, fighting and doing everything possible to get my bachelor's degree. But then something, a challenge came just before I graduated from college, which is the capstone project. And what is the capstone project? The capstone project is a group project that is required to graduate from college. So basically, what happened was that I was set up to be the leader of a group of five students, six students, including myself, and we were assigned a project with the city of Sanford. And this project, consisted of doing or working on a proposal that would create an ambassador, like a marketing or like an ambassador program that will help citizens in Sanford to use Uber as their main method of transportation. And the thing is that we went through a lot of challenges and tough situations in that project. More had to do with the group project. For example, I had to deal with different students that had different personalities, different ways of doing things. And my biggest challenge was with my struggles with communication, how I was going to keep everybody together, how I was able to do everything together, and and also improve my leadership skills. Where because I've never been successful in group projects, and I'm not saying in terms of getting a bad grade. I'm talking about leading a team, a true group effort to accomplish an objective. I've always struggled with that, and because I've always done most of the job, most of the work, and that was for me a failure because I didn't let a team to success. Even though we got a good grade, but I did most of the job, which is not successful in my opinion. So basically, what happened was that I had to find a way to get everybody together, telling them that hey, we need to do this not only to just get a be able to do this group project, but also to be able to help the community of Sanford. So we were able to overcome our differences, each person doing their assigned role in the project, and eventually we were able to do our presentation. And I was honored and privileged to do a presentation alongside my teammates in front of the City Commission of Sanford, which happened on December 12th, 2016. It was a relief because of all the sacrifice, everything that was made in this project was at the end, it was truly worth it. And, I was very privileged to be in that city, be able to do that presentation, not only to just complete the project so that way I can get my bachelor's degree, but more important, um, be able to do something for the community, which for me was very important. So with capstone project being done, the next 2 days after that, the big day of my life came in, graduation from college. And graduation day came in on December 14, 2016. And looking back, I was, thinking and seeing, after all the struggles, after all the situations that I went through in my life, I began to think, you know, all those moments, all those tough moments, but also nice moments of my life that led me to this. Being doubted, even thinking that I was not going to be here in this life, um, helped me to put everything into perspective. And basically, uh, I was, even though it was not the end goal of what I was going to do in my life, but it led me closer towards fulfilling that mission of my life, which I'm going to talk about in just a little bit. So I graduated from college with my bachelor's degree in business and information management from Seminole State College of Florida with a 3.7 GPA, magna cum laude honors. And not only I graduated from college, but also something else happened at that night. And I would like to show that to you, all of you, right now. Let me show you the video. Hopefully it works.
He has Asperger's syndrome and autism spectrum disorder that has provided many challenges during his educational journey. In 2015, he received his AA degree from Seminole State and is graduating tonight with his bachelor's in business and information management. He's a student who believes in giving back and has helped to raise over $100,000 during the Autism Walk. As part of the capstone project for this program, he helped to lead a 5-person team of students that tackled a problem identified by the city of Sanford: how to create awareness on the part of Sanford's senior citizens about Uber as a way for them to get around within the city limits. And I'm told that the project was a huge success. He plans to use his degree to become an entrepreneur and start his own business and continue to change the world. Antonio Hernandez Pumarejo, would you please stand and be recognized? Congratulations, Antonio. She's the first.
That recognition, let me go back here. That recognition, it was a last minute thing. I was not expecting it until the last minute, to be honest with you all. But that recognition, I was very honored to be recognized by the president back then of Seminole State College, Dr. M. McGee, and to be recognized as an autistic graduate from college is something that I will never forget. But in reality, that recognition was not for me. It was not simply a recognition. Something happened in that moment that changed my life, and it's the reason why I'm with all of you today. And for a couple of years after learning about autism, I tried to keep autism hidden from others, or not recognize it, or not even think about it, for different reasons. Fear, in terms of being attacked or misjudged, or being put at limit by society standards. And and because of that, I was not very outspoken about my autism. But this moment came in, I realized that, you know, I have a calling to do. I have a mission to do. I'm able to get to this point because of those situations and circumstances that I've gone through in my life. And I realized I had to do something to help others in the spectrum that have my condition to achieve their mission of life. Because we know the numbers and statistics. Not a lot of people in the spectrum graduate from college, let alone a lot of people don't even graduate from high school. Also, a lot of people are unemployed, 80 to 90% unemployment rate. So many challenges for people in the spectrum across the lifespan. And I was thinking that with this recognition, it gave me like a purpose of life. It gave me like a meaning of life that I had to realize that, hey, I can no longer keep things hidden from others. This recognition was not for me. It was more for others in the autism spectrum. It was to educate and raise awareness to our society that people with autism are not a liability, they're not a burden, they're not incapable beings. That people like them are they're here to make the difference. Because society have put different stereotypes and misconceptions out there of not only people with autism, but also different conditions of life, disabilities, mental health, you name it. Not only them, but also their families and their communities. And what I wanted to do with this recognition was to raise that awareness as a message to society that, hey, I'm just a story. But there are many millions and millions of stories that need to be heard, whether they're a child or an adult. And I realized at that moment, and it became very clear of what my mission is in life, which is to be an advocate for all of those whose voices have been ignored for throughout life. And not only be a voice for them, but also for their families too and their communities. Because there's so many things that people in the society that need to be educated about autism. And I know there have been progress that have been made, but much more needs to be done. So that's the day in which my commitment to be an advocate was complete. And I started doing some advocacy work a couple years before graduation day, back in 2016, as I will mention right now. But that's the day that, for me, it became clear that I can no longer hide, and I can no longer mask my autism. And I had to realize that I have a mission here, and I'm gonna do everything possible and fight every day to achieve that mission. no matter what's happening. So that's the day in which I became full-fledged autism advocate, uh, in which right now we're going to talk about that as an autism advocacy. The reason, I became an advocate truly, uh, especially after my experience, which I almost ended my life, and the struggles and situations that I gone through to at least 2012, 2013. I put myself and said, oh, I had to do, I had to do something to help others with my condition, to not go through the situations that I went through. And so basically, I started volunteering with different autism organizations. For example, starting with the Autism Society of Greater Orlando, in which I became a volunteer, doing work for the organization. And the thing is that for me, this was not just only work, but more important, I was getting in contact with the autism community. Be able to meet families and meet children and other adults with autism. So being able to, I felt like I was at home. I felt like that I was felt that connection, even though I didn't know them personally, but I felt that connection with those families because some of those situations that I are going through are things that I went through too. Not all the same, of course, because it's very important to remember that the autism is a spectrum, and not only just the condition, but also the differences in situations of life and in the individuals that are in the spectrum. But to be in this position really helped me to be more with the community. Later on, I became board member with the Autism Society of Greater Orlando. And in that position, I started, being an advocate for the community and all of that. But I also learned something very important, a skill, which helped me and still helps me towards my career to this very day, which is fundraising. And the ironic thing about fundraising is that it's also, that I had to put my customer service and sales skills into the test and be able to get sponsorships and raising funds for the programs and services that the organization provided. So I had to put that to the test. And in other words, also this experience of fundraising helped me also improve my social communication skills. For example, one thing I'm going to mention is that when I was with the board member, as a board member, one of my responsibilities was to get support from the Walmart Foundation. The Walmart Foundation, Walmart, they provide grants to different nonprofit organizations, schools across the world. And to be able to get that support was not easy because I had to make calls, I had to send emails, I even had to go in person to the different stores in Florida to get support from my organization. So I took this very seriously and be able to work doing this job that which I was not getting paid because it was volunteer position. But what really helps me do this job and what kept me going was the mission that began to clear itself for many years ago in terms of what I came here to do, which is help others achieve their potential in life, especially in the autism community. So basically, I was able to get support from the Walmart Foundation and be able to get funding from them for our our annual autism walk events. For example, one year I believe I got like $8,000 from Walmart for an autism walk event, and then next year I believe I got like $10,000, $12,000. And for me, it felt like I was not helping. My goal was not just to help the organization. For me, more important was to help and support the programs that are needed to help the community, the autism community, which was my main purpose. Then after that, after the Autism Society were in Orlando, I became fundraising coordinator with the ASD Achievement Center. This was a new organization that helps adults in the spectrum. Doing fundraising for their organization was, and be able to lift that organization was one of my greatest achievements. No, and also right now I'm an advocate. I'm a board member with the Autism Society of Florida, and also I'm an advisory board member for ELS for Autism, which is obviously also an organization here in Florida. From Johnny, from the ELS family. So And also, I do other advocacy work, as you will see during my presentation. Again, having that mission and that commitment that I set out to do years ago of helping others not go to what I was going through, and be able to educate our society that, again, people with autism are not a liability. There are people that are capable of making a difference regardless of the functionality level. I don't like functionality, going with functionality level, to be honest with you all. Um, the autism is a very diverse spectrum. I see it more diverse, or diversity. People have their challenges that are common and also not common, but each individual can contribute and make a difference in our world. That's very important to remember. So, as you know, as I mentioned, my advocacy, I'm going to hit a little bit about, a little bit about of the fun side. It's my hobbies and why they were important. As I mentioned in school, when I was in school, dealing with different situations in my life, I had to go to my hobbies, not just, and they were not hobbies only for me, just hobbies, but also like my own world. I was connected to my own world. For example, Star Wars. I became a big Star Wars fan when they went to this castle in Ponce, in Puerto Rico, in which has a huge Star Wars collection. And then I felt so in love with that Star Wars collection that I committed myself that day that I will become a Star Wars fan for life, and I still am to this very day. And those are the things that really helped me to survive the depression and the situations that I was going through. Mentioning video games, Super Mario, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, uh, even PC gaming. Those things really helped me. Wrestling video games, wrestling itself, becoming, I used to watch religiously watch WWF, back then, and also WWE later, and also doing arts and drawings. For example, I went to school in art school in San Juan, Puerto Rico, in Old San Juan. In Spanish it's called the Escuela de Artes Plásticas. I was, have always have a fascination with arts, travel, be able to travel. I learned how to travel by myself and travel to different places, especially the Star Wars convention, which I went to California back in 2015, which is one of the biggest highlights of my life, and be able to meet the different actors and actresses that I have looked up to since I was a kid in person was the honor of my life. And also do volunteer work related again to the autism community. Uh, Loving pets. I have a pet. It doesn't live with me, but uh, you know, he lives with my mom and my younger brother. His name is Shees, and he's one of the greatest beings I ever met in my life. I used to have a pet when I was a child, when I was living with my mom, but then after we moved with my dad, he didn't like pets back then. Unfortunately, we didn't have a pet, so I was like disappointed. But pets, they're some of the best friends that you will ever have, and as in life. That's my opinion. And also driving. I love to drive. As you see something at the end related to driving, you'll see why I love to drive. And I learned how to drive, especially manual transmission, which is not easy to do. But I drive manual transmission to this very, very day. So, what do I do? What do I do today? What does Tony do? I do different things, but all of it had to do with the same mission. One of those things that I've been able to accomplish, which if you asked me a couple years before, if I would have accomplished this, I would have told you no, because I thought I was not going to be here, was to become an author and writer and write my own book. For a couple years, I was thinking about writing a book of my life in the spectrum. I was having debates back and forth as to where I was going to write it or not. And I was even going to release it because of the things I was going through. So basically, it got to a point in which I said, okay, let me do this. If there's one thing in life, if something were to, God forbid, if something were to happen to me, and I was able to accomplish this, just like I went to the Star Wars convention, we should be fine. Even though, that was not my end goal. So basically, I started writing the book in 2017, but in reality, I started writing this book since the moment I got to this world. So I took all the life experiences, summarized it in one book, and after a lot of work and effort, I was able to release my book back in November of 2018 as an Autism Unscripted Life, releasing my first ever book. And later I was able to translate it to Spanish as an Una Vida Autista Sin Libreto. So if you would have told me again, if I would have, have become a book author, I would have said no. Same thing as being a speaker. Because of the book and also an increased awareness of my work in the community, I was able to become a motivational speaker. I talk about topics about autism, mental health, and many other topics that impacted our community. Very important. Also, I've achieved full-time employment. Right now, my current job is a manager in an area that, again, you don't expect a person in the autism spectrum to be working, which is customer service and sales. I worked with a great company for 3 years. It's not something I would like to do for the rest of my life, but I'm very grateful. I'm truly grateful for having a job, especially during this COVID pandemic, and be able to be a manager, which is not easy. In addition to dealing with struggles with social communication and anxiety in a fast-paced environment like retail, it's not easy. And I can understand not many people can do it, but I'm able to fight and survive that. So that's something that I have to do. So that's my full-time job. And last but not least, I'm also TV collaborator with Despierta Orlando at University of Orlando. So I'm gonna talk about a backstory to how this came to, how this happened, how did I got the TV. So which is another important life goal. This started when I went to Puerto Rico. I went there back in November of 2019, and I was promoting, selling and promoting the book back then, especially in the Spanish version. And my stepmom, she got an interview from me for with WAPA TV, which is one of the main TV stations in Puerto Rico. So basically, I was going to have an interview with them, and as you can imagine, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, being very nervous, worried. I was going to scrap the interview, or I was going to have, even a meltdown. And my concern was I didn't want to let this impact what I was trying to do, which is the mission of the autism community on TV. And basically, but after I got to the studio and got there and I met the host of the news program in the morning, I felt more relaxed as the interview went passed by. I became confident. It was my first time being on TV. Well, I was interviewed for TV a couple months, but I was only for 2 minutes. This one's going to be for 6, 7 minutes, and to be able to do that interview and overcoming the challenges that I have as a person in the spectrum was truly remarkable. And then after that, I have another interview at the other main TV station, that Telemundo in Puerto Rico. And that interview, I felt more confident because, okay, the first time I'd never been on TV before, so I felt a little bit more confident for the second interview. And again, did very well. I was interviewed talking about my life in the spectrum and talk about my book and everything. And all of that, what I was very shocked at that day was that of the connections that I received. I received a lot of, hundreds, literally hundreds of Facebook friend requests, and to follow me and follow my work in social media, not only Facebook but also Twitter and Instagram, many other places. And I was shocked, and I put everything in perspective because a couple of years before this, I was at the point which I was not going to be here and was struggling in my life, and now I'm on TV as a book author and a public speaker. And I was like, wow, I didn't, I did a goal list, and some of these things were not even that goal list, but yeah, I was able to accomplish this, and it's truly remarkable of the things that I was able to accomplish. And I'm very grateful to the Creator, to God, for giving me this opportunity to be here and to do this. So basically, I did TV. Then later, I was interviewed on radio and also the newspaper at the Vocero, which is one of the main newspapers in Puerto Rico. And and then later on, I went back to Orlando. I was interviewed in Orlando at the University of Orlando at the Spirit Orlando. So I did the interview with them with the book and everything. And then a couple of weeks later, they offered me a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I was shocked when they offered me this. They offered me to be a TV collaborator with the Spirit Orlando, which in other words, I was going to have a weekly TV segment every week. I was like, wow, I cannot believe so many things were moving so fast. I was in shock that all of this was happening and blessed. So I started my segment back in November 2019, and I talk about in the segment which I still have to this very day. I talk about the motivational topics, all from the perspective of an autistic person. Which of course I also bring topics about autism every week, almost every week. So I consider the segment for the autism community, and I do it from here to help others. Again, achieving my mission. So those are the things that I do on a daily basis. Also being a blogger and also being on social media too. So now, before we close in, you guys have learned a little bit about my story from childhood all the way to adulthood. But for me, again, for me, I'm just a story. There's so many stories that need to be heard and accepted in our community, in our society. So these are the three pillars, the 3 points that I believe the community need to be focused on in order to achieve the common goal that we all have, which is a better quality of life for everybody in the autism spectrum and their families. There are differences in the autism spectrum, in the autism community, and we may not be agree 100%, but it's very important to recognize the differences and recognize that we have more in common than what they divide us. So we have to realize that we have to overcome those differences, work on the things that we can agree on to accomplish the goal that we all have, a better quality of life and more independent life for every being in the autism spectrum. So these are the things that we do right now. We have to raise awareness about the challenges that people with autism and their life and their families face across the lifespan. We also have to accept people with autism as integral members of society, capable of making significant contributions. We also have to take significant action towards creating more effective programs that will help people with autism achieve an independent life. All of this can be summarized into what has been my mission with this presentation throughout this time, which is to focus on autism purpose every day. Because we talk about autism awareness, especially we're in Autism Month. Some people call it Autism Awareness Month, some people call it Autism Acceptance Month. Both of those are important. We need to be focused on awareness, not only awareness about the challenges and struggles that people with autism or their families face, but more important, uh, be able to be aware of the things that they can contribute, their abilities, functional diversity. Because again, and I'll repeat it again, each person in the autism spectrum, regardless of their challenges, can make a significant contribution in their life. And that's what I believe in. Also, acceptance. Accept people with autism as integral members of our society. And then last but not least, action. Action now to continue to create the programs that will help people with autism achieve their goals in life and to be able to create a better world for all and educate our society about what autism is. There has been a lot of progress made, but so much more needs to be done. So overall, this is what I believe we need to be focused on as a community on autism purpose, awareness, acceptance, and action. So we can hear and learn more stories of those which voices have been silenced and misunderstood by most of the society. And that will be my biggest goal for today. If there's one thing that, which I want to talk about right now, first is I want to leave you with my contact information, Tony Hernandez Pumarejo. If you have any questions, anything that I can help you with, please, you can contact me there at tonyhpuma.com, tonyhpuma@gmail.com. And also you can follow me on my social media, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and Twitter. Again, you can follow me back here at contact here, Tony Espuma, and also Gmail, and also social media. And also that's my book, An Autism A Scripted Life. If you're interested, which I talk more in detail about my life in the spectrum unto adulthood. If you're interested in learning more about my life in the spectrum, please give me, contact me to get the book. And I want to thank you for being with me here today. And you can see there a picture of myself with the car. As I mentioned, I like driving as one of my hobbies. And this is not just to brag, oh, I have a nice looking car, but it is very important. For me, it's very important because, as I mentioned, I got into personal development. I started writing goals and different things. I have that car as part of my vision to accomplish. I wanted to get that car, and I did like a vision board in which I put pictures of the things I wanted to accomplish in life, and this was one of them. And through hard work and sacrifice, I was able to do it. And it's a 6-speed manual transmission. And again, it's not to be materialistic or everything. It's just for the hard work and dedication it took to get that car. That's part of my goals and many other things that I need to accomplish. So I'm going to start with the PowerPoint here, and I'm going to leave you with a small message before we go. I just want you to, if there's one thing from this presentation that I want you all to take with you, one thing is to always never put limits on a child or an adult with autism. A lot of times we put, society put limits on them, but also we put limits ourselves, even parents. And I have to be honest with you guys that we do that. And we need to start putting limits on them. People with autism can achieve great things, and they can make contribution. They can live a better life, regardless of the level, regardless of the difficulties that they face. I know that autism is not all that pleasant. Trust me, it's not. And I know you guys know that. It's not easy, but it's worth fighting for. And that's what we need to focus on. Go beyond the limits of each individual in the spectrum and focus on functional diversity. And always remember that each person has a purpose in life. My purpose in life is to make a positive and long-lasting difference in the world. But that's my purpose. But always remember, and my goal again is to never put limits on them because they have a purpose in this world. Always remember that. So thank you all for being with me here today on this Saturday. And hopefully my presentation gave value to you in today. So anything that I can help you with, I'm here to help the entire community. So thank you so much for being with me here today. And you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.